original and independent. This island has retained its charm. Traditional walls instead of large concrete hotels. Unspoiled dream bays and unconventional people. This is Corsica.
Pisca, pisca, emmenez-moi, pisca, viens-y, viens-y, ma belle, le travail attend moi. Pisca, pisca, emmenez-moi, pisca, ne soyons pas moroses, si nous n'en prenons pas.
The Corsicans simply say Île de Beauté, Island of Beauty. That's partially because of the Calanques de Piana, which are a World Natural Heritage Site. A guessing game made of granite. A lizard's head? An elephant? Even if many villages live from tourism, they don't let themselves be completely taken over. They already had that. Corsica was under the rule of Pisa and Genoa in the Middle Ages. Today, the island does belong to France, but the Corsicans do not want to be French. They have a mind of their own. This is also shown by their symbol of freedom, the Corsican coat of arms. The east coast of Corsica mostly falls flat to the sea. The west coast, like at Cap Corse, is rougher and often difficult to access. The small village of Canari is one of the busier mountain villages. Typical for Corsica is the Mediterranean macchia, intensely fragrant bushes of myrtle, broom, sisters' rose, and wild olive trees. Jeremy Santini has to fetch the sheep from these stiff-leaved hedges. Tomorrow, they have to give milk again.
The sheep here eat the Corsican macchia, which gives the cheese its very unique taste, unlike flatland cheese, where the animals only get grass. And because we're close to the sea here, the salty taste is added. It's literally blown up here.
After a few years in the Corsican port city of Bastia, Jeremy returned to his home village. He's actually a bricklayer. He does the sheep business on the side for his great love. Sabrina, his wife. As a dental technician, she used to clean interdental spaces with an interdental brush.
I have to scrub the cheese because mold grows on it. That's what it needs in the beginning, to mature. But at some point, it smells too strong and doesn't look nice anymore. After brushing, it can be presented again.
Beginning of May, end of April. The older the cheese, the stronger the taste. And the smell.
Sure, if you don't like the smell, you shouldn't be here. And that's just sheep's cheese. It smells only half as strong as goat's cheese. You just have to take a good shower afterwards, then it's all right.
The parents gave up city life for their two daughters, Chloe and Maud, to be in nature with their children. Jeremy grew up the same way, on his parents' farm. The macchia meal alone is not enough. Jeremy has to feed the finest hay. A real mountain idyll, but it's hard to earn money here. Corsica, birthplace of Napoleon Bonaparte, connects a fascinating mountain world with the sea. "1,000 kilometers of mostly rocky coast, and in the interior of the island are high mountains up to 2,700 meters above sea level. The Cap Corse, a miniature version of the island, is particularly original. Corsica is located in the Mediterranean, south of Nice and at the height of Rome, and is about half the size of Schleswig-Holstein. In the south, one of the Corsican landmarks is enthroned, Bonifacio. Because of this location, it already was of strategically highest importance and always fought over in the Middle Ages, with fire arrows and cannonballs. Today, he attacks with a dustpan. The caretaker of Bonifacio. Daniel Orsu has to get the stairs of the King of Aragon into shape early in the morning.
Water seeps through from above, sand blows in, mud forms, and it must be removed. Otherwise it gets slippery. Twice a week I do that, in high season, when the crowds come up to 4 times.
189 steps in the chalk rock, and none is like the other. They were beaten into the stone by hand in the Middle Ages.
There are 2 legends. One says that attackers carved the stairs into the rock in just one night to conquer the citadel above. In fact, it was probably the inhabitants of Bonifacio who wanted to go to a freshwater spring further down in the rock.
Up to 2 hours, Daniel fights his way up here every time, across the rock. He must be ready before the visitors arrive. There's one attacker that Bonifacio never gets rid of, the weather. In the chalk cliff on which the front rows of houses stand, alarming cracks have already been discovered. For some residents, the prime location with sea view could still become a disadvantage. After the first hour, Daniel enjoys a moment of rest.
The light is different every hour, depending on the weather, whether there are clouds or not. You just have to take a break to enjoy this view. You can't just work and work here. Nobody can.
Only 76 steps to go. The location on the rock has made Bonifacio famous. In former times, the attackers approached from the sea. Today, they invade from the hinterland, in coaches. But in the morning at 8 a.m., the world is still fine here. Daniel later has to pluck weeds from the old fortress wall. He likes his job in the old alleys. Now he has an important appointment. The breakfast cafe with his buddy Alex.
It's so quiet until the place wakes up. This way, I get on faster and I'm ready before it gets crowded.
Down in the harbour, there now are more and more big yachts. They announce the season. In July and August, the Marina of Bonifacio becomes the base of the motor and sailboat armada. Their destination, the dream base in the south of Corsica. Just as Bonifacio was once besieged by foreign fleets, so are even remote archipelagos such as the Lavezzi Islands between Corsica and Sardinia now in the middle of summer. The Corsal Company just outside Porto Vecchio. Here, the yachts will be mothballed, serviced and taken out again in spring. Pierre-Alain de Burme started over 40 years ago with one boat. Today he looks after about 400. This motor yacht will be launched tomorrow morning.
Corsica will soon have a big problem. Both the anchorages and the berths in the harbours are almost fully booked, and it's getting harder and harder to find new ones.
Pierre-Alain's employees checking the 400 horsepower yacht. The owner, a mainland Frenchman.
It's used to sail between the south of Corsica and the north of Sardinia. These boats are big, but nobody goes on a long voyage with them. People still have their villas. A day trip is enough for them.
This specimen comes from a North German shipyard and costs more than €500,000. Even under the hull there is still something to do. The anti-fouling paint has to be applied against algae growth.
A lot of money for such a boat. I don't have the money.
There must be people with so much money, otherwise we wouldn't have a job. You can't do the job if you're jealous, let's be honest.
Now, the 13.5-meter yacht only needs to get onto the trailer. Tomorrow morning, it shall start.
That's stressing me even today. You always have to be careful. It's a heavy load transport. The dimensions, the weight, a boat with a height of 4.3 meters, it often gets damn tight.
The heavy-duty transport sign must actually be attached to this wagon. But somebody probably left the holder in the warehouse. Typical for the flatter east coast are the so-called Etons Lagoons created over thousands of years. From the sea, salt water comes in, and from inconspicuous river tributaries, fresh water. The flat Etons de Palot requires a very special catching method.
So the V here is called traverse. There the weir goes on and the traps go here. When the fish is here, it can't see the net back here because it can only see a good 3 meters underwater. So it thinks, I'll go out to the sea, then turns around and swims directly into the trap. Every fish that comes into the Etons also wants to go back to the sea to spawn there, but it won't get that far because we eat it first.
Julien Cougourneau passes on his knowledge. Since 1984, he has been the head of the Etons de Palot, the lagoon near Ghisonaccia. Julien is over 70 years old now, and he has back pain. He doesn't let anyone notice that there's a lot of pain even when making the nets. Julien makes the new ones. Gaylord Pignol, his future successor, may unrig the broken ones. So far, he has only fished on the sea, but the open sea is often too rough. That's why he wants to follow in Julien's footsteps and take over the Etons from him.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you know why I left it there? To remember the place where I doubled a scam.
Pourquoi je l'ai laissé?
Pourquoi?
Pour avoir la mire quand je vais doubler la maille.
No longer possible.
Ah, tu as bien vu que les autres, ils les ont pas.
Gaylord has a few more months before the mullets come into the lagoon. The weir is held by wooden stakes which have to be rammed into the mud ground.
Des piquets, on les a commandés, Gaylord. Il faudra que tu
We've ordered new stakes. Gaylord, you have to call the guy to hear where they are. We need 400 of them. We'll have to get the old ones out. I'm afraid winter has certainly hit them pretty hard again.
When Julien says we, he means Gaylord. Letting go is difficult for him.
If the weir is wobbly, the fish will swim into the sea.
Julien can't stop thinking about it. Actually, Gaylord should check what the weir looks like out there, but the boss prefers to do it himself now. No matter how much the back hurts.
This lagoon is damn hard work. There's hardly any water here.
Only 50 centimeters to the bottom. Near the shore, Julien still has to pull.
Running. Isn't life beautiful?
On the poorly accessible west side of Cap Corse, many villages like Baratali are aging and the young are fleeing. There are hardly any jobs and hardly any schools for the offspring. Many move to the busier port cities or even to the mainland. In the neighboring village of Canary, however, there is hope. Customers for Sabrina.
For me, 2 cheeses and 2 brochu.
For us, 2 brochu and a cream cheese.
It's still rare for anyone to get all the way up here. But apparently, the quality of their cheese is getting around. Brochu is a Corsican specialty. It is available as cream cheese and with a bitter aroma.
From mid-March, is that okay? Or rather younger?
No, it's fine.
Sabrina has only been producing for almost 2 years.
We'll be back.
So the new life takes shape bit by bit.
That makes 5, 13, 26 euros. Thank you.
For the small cheese dairy, Sabrina has taken out a rather large loan. She still has a lot to sell to get it back.
I copied this technique from my father-in-law. Before I crushed a few cheese, but now it's fine.
All those stakes there, 600 of them, they're holding the weir.
For about 300 meters, from a distance they still look quite good.
They're so dirty.
The problem is the algae and mussels growing underwater, and this is one of the fish traps in which the mullets should end up. Then you can simply take them out from above with a dip net.
The traps must first be removed and cleaned properly on land. Spick and span. Nothing must get caught so that the water can circulate well.
Flamingos also feel at home in the shallow, brackish water.
Are many stakes broken?
Yes, almost 2 dozens, but the rest has to get out too. It's all shaky and rotten. As soon as the new ones arrive, we're off.
Julien is a perfectionist. Without optimal preparation, he says you can't fish the Etons.
But it's fine if not so many stakes are broken.
If it were only the steaks, there is the net between the steaks.
Semelle au départ. Tout ça, ça va être là.
Everything must be rinsed.
Oui, mais celui-là, voilà.
Do you think this is a big one?
Eh oui, il est assez grand, tu vois.
Of course,
Laissez-le comme ça.
and it will be properly cleaned too.
Arroser.
Tu sais, je pense que bien sec comme ça, ils vont bien se...
But you know, they can also be rubbed dry. You see how well that works?
T'as vu comme ça se défait bien?
Après, pour voir si... Bon.
For God's sake, there's got to be water.
Alors, il
It's
faut
all
que-
algae.
Il faut qu'il sorte, c'est de l'air. Il faudra que...
No arguing.
He's built this up in 35 years, and now he's teaching it to me.
Ces 35 ans d'expérience,
I benefit from his experience, and I learn really
j'apprends très
fast.
vite, quoi. J'apprends très vite grâce à son savoir.
He's a good teacher.
Bon professeur.
Parle bien, hein.
You said that beautifully. I was hardly at school, but now I'm a good teacher. That makes me proud.
Ah ouais.
Sabrina's little farm above the village of Canary. Customers hardly find her up here. Normally, Sabrina has to deliver her products herself. Today, this jug full of sheep's milk is to be delivered to the neighboring village. It's only 15 kilometers away, but the route there is adventurous. Her friend Maëlle, who is working as a beekeeper here, helps her. The coastal road D80 leads around the whole Cap Corse and is notorious.
I must hold the milk can carefully. When I delivered the other day, I was alone in my car with the can next to me. And it wasn't fastened, and because we have so many curves here, it turned over and all the sheep's milk ran into my car. After 2 days it stunk so horribly. I tried hoovering, but no chance. Dried sheep's milk is horrible. That's why I'd rather let Maëlle drive me today.
The curves are one thing, the condition of the coastal stretch is another.
Well, the roads here often are a bit older and not so good.
In many places, a nasty surprise threatens from above. Especially with strong wind and rain, pieces of boulders can come loose on the higher slopes.
A la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar
What a view!
con mucho cariño de mi.
One can forget minding the road due to this beautiful landscape. You have to stay focused because of the rock falls. So you can't drive and enjoy the view at the same time. You can only do that as a passenger. Today I don't sit at the wheel and can look at the sea.
A la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue.
After 35 minutes they arrive in the neighboring village Nonce.
Hello, Johan!
Et vous? Oui. Qu'est-ce que vous avez apporté de bon là?
Are you bringing the milk?
Juan Pellegrini is also one of the younger ones who prefers the village to the city. He opened his shop here a year ago, betting on ice cream made from Corsican ingredients.
Très bon, Sabrina.
Very good. The sheep did a good job. The milk is nice and fat. You can make something special out of it.
D'exceptionnel. Pas de bon, d'exceptionnel. Voici. Donc voilà, là vous avez donc le lait de brebis.
Sheep's milk is the basic product. Then some brochure is added from the way that Sabrina wins by making cheese.
Sabrina fait son fromage de
Juan quickly made a name for himself with his creations in northern Corsica. Many people process regional products here, but not like this.
Alors, un nougat glacé au miel.
Here, a white iced nougat with honey. Corsican cedrat lemon and cedrat peel.
May I finish that?
Myrtle, chestnut and cedar lemon, Juan processes everything that Corsican nature has to offer. His son plays in front of the shop. You don't get rich with ice cream, says Juan, but what's money after all?
La casa de la bachata. La 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 la. La casa del merengue. La 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 la. Y la casa de la bachata. Música, 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 te traigo música, 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 música de la República. ¡Ajá!
"5 o'clock in the morning at Porto Vecchio. The heavy load transport for the 500,000 euro yacht is almost ready to go. The convoy also includes 2 vehicles that have to secure the trailer. Finally, the last warning light.
All right, let's go.
The front vehicle warns of oncoming trucks, and at the back, the boss secures. They need a little more than an hour to get to the port in Solenzara, if everything goes well. In the front, in the tractor, Anthony must keep the overview. Right at the first village, it gets narrow. The trucks always come down from Bastia at this time. Now, in low season, yachts are taken from their warehouse to the harbours almost every day.
You always have to get up early, but you are rewarded for it. This way you can watch the most beautiful sunrises when the road winds its way along the beaches. Wonderful, beautiful.
Fabuleux. Quand on prend la route qui longe le bord de mer, c'est très bien, c'est très beau.
Anthony can't really enjoy the sunrise right now.
Attention, someone is overtaking.
Anthony slowly gets warm. He takes off his jacket during operation.
You get used to it. You have to.
And another stupid traffic island with treacherous signs. The convoy torments itself through the villages by the sea.
Back then it was even worse. We had to often unscrew the street signs in order to get through at all. Since they've renewed the signage, it is a little better. Sometimes, however, it's still very close. The Corsican roads are simply not made for such transports.
But somehow they always manage. Finally at their destination. Now the yacht only has to get from the trailer into the harbour basin. Pierre-Alain and his boys can live pretty well from the transport of the yachts. Of course, it could always be more.
The Corsican market is quite manageable. On the Côte d'Azur, that would be a business.
But that's the way it is in Corsica. You live with what you've got. Even their boss thinks like that now. but he's actually one of those mainland French people who have moved to Corsica.
At that time, military service led me here, and I didn't want to leave ever since.
Large parts of the Corsican coastal and marine zones are under nature conservation. The employees of the environmental police are responsible for this. 2 boats, 1 mission, to protect the highly sensitive flora and fauna. Régis Colonna Cesari is the head of the TWAM.
We're here at the southern tip of Corsica, surrounded by many currents. As soon as there are thunderstorms, the garbage is washed up from everywhere. That's how stuff even from Italy gets over here.
During high season, they have to take care of wrongly anchored motor yachts and the dream bays. But before the beaches are populated by bathers, the environmental police have another job here. A rather arduous one.
Pierre, there you go.
Collecting garbage. This bay is funnel-shaped so that, especially in spring, a lot of waste is washed up. One has to walk a very long way to reach it from land.
It's so dirty. You are in paradise. Beautiful. And then there's so much garbage.
On other beaches, you take the tractor with a big rake.
Vehicles with engines are forbidden on the beach. It's not possible. We have to do everything by hand.
Nature reserve. Every now and then they come here with volunteers or with school classes. Many hands can take away more, but they mostly are on their own.
The nature reserve has 400,000 hectares. With many beaches, there's always something to collect. The work never stops.
Seagulls, cormorants, turtles. Many animals confuse the plastic parts with food and die. The bathers often press their cigarettes into the sand and often leave their garbage here thoughtlessly. They have removed the worst garbage. Next operation. There are many small archipelagos and islands off the coast. And Régis now wants to get onto the most inaccessible, the Île du Taureau. The problem, mooring impossible, so he has to catch the right moment to get over. Régis climbs up here to look for a species that only grows in South Corsica and Sardinia. Silene velutina, a rare plant from the clove family.
These are new seedlings. The plant spreads here.
The somewhat inconspicuous little plant is a protected species. In midsummer, everything blooms here.
In July and August, everything is full of boats here. People climb up here to take pictures and jump down. We have to stop that. They're trampling it all flat here, and then that's it with the rare plant.
Today he checks the stocks. In summer he comes back with colleagues to measure the plants individually.
It continues to spread here, And you can see that it survived the spring storms well, even on the side where the wind and the sea attack the most. That's great.
And on we go through the dream base of South Corsica. At the Etons de Palot, Julien plunders his own treasure chamber, his coal store. He still has a few boutargues left from last year. The roe from the mullet. He takes it from the fish that swim into his trap in late summer.
Put it in a bowl of salt and let it rest. After a good hour and a half, it has to go out. Rinse it well, rub it, and then dry it in the sun for a few days. Then turn it again and again until everything is soft and ready to eat. Sounds simple, but it's a lot of work. We treat ourselves today.
For the air-dried roe, you pay up to 180 euros per kilo at Corsican markets. In Nice, even more. And that's why boutargues are also called Corsican caviar. The fact that Julien still has some of it is a well-kept secret. He's constantly asked for some, but to no avail.
I still have to keep some for June and July, when the cousins and friends come from the mainland. They're supposed to get some. One must not always think of money only, but also of friendship.
Julien has no children of his own. He has a somewhat turbulent past behind him. He doesn't want to reveal more. Today he has the boutargue for lunch, with Gaylord.
These are fresh roes, mixed with garlic, mint, olive oil and harissa. When removing the roe, one crushes some. But why put them away? I freeze them and then bake them. Absolutely delicious. Now just put them in the oven. Where's that Gaylord now?
He seems to be absorbed in the cage study.
I've been waiting here for an hour with the aperitif.
If he keeps that up, he won't get the succession at the Etons. Just put the boutargue strips on the baguette with some butter.
A noble product. You're eating a fortune.
As an alternative to buttered breads, Julien says, you can also dip the baguette carefully into a good olive oil.
Just a little bit. It mustn't cover the taste of the rye.
When Julien started here at the Etons, he was about as old as Gaylord today, in his mid-30s. Over time, he created his own empire and taught himself almost everything. Trapping methods, mending nets, roe recipes. An era is slowly coming to an end, although he can't let go that easily anyway.
Right, I'll show you. Gaylord, take a look at this. That was my legendary catch, mullets, 400 kilos. And that's what the boutargues have to look like. I can't say how many there were.
Will Gaylord be able to do that?
This is what the boat must look like. And where's the video now on which they almost massacred me?
Is that in the fish trap?
And Julien simply got out the fish with the dip net.
That's what it looks like when you work well.
Sabrina has to deliver cheese. It's back to Nonsa, the neighboring village. And because it is already late afternoon and school is out, her children have to go with her. To the D80, the notorious coastal road.
Now is the most dangerous time when the first tourists arrive. We are not afraid. We know the route in our cars. The tourists don't. And that can become a problem.
Curve Inferno with children. Usually a clear case for the vomit bag. Maud and Chloé are enjoying themselves. They are used to the road and find it cool. Chloé reminds her grandmother to think of her bike. The children would love to have ice cream. But when Sabrina offers an ice cream with sheep's milk, Maud and Chloé don't seem to be too fond. This cheese delivery is destined for the Café de la Tour, the most beautiful bar in Corsica. Here you meet after work. And this is where Sabrina's cheese sells particularly well, even the older vintage that smells strong. Maybe also because the bar is open air.
Right into the kitchen with it.
Sabrina's friend Maël is here. As is Jérémy, Sabrina's husband.
Did you have stress with your bees again?
It's all right. Only one stung me today. Here.
Allez, santé. Santé. Santé.
Did you order a cheese plate for me? No? Go ahead then.
La glace maintenant.
Maud and Chloé are enjoying their ice creams.
Oui. J'ai pris juste le yaourt. Comment goûter? Moi?
And the cheese plate. Corsican aperitif, with goat cheese from the competition. And their own sheep cheese.
C'est faut demander à José.
La dernière fois, j'ai mangé quand il y avait Greg.
Parce que chez moi, je n'en mange pas.
I never eat it at home. Only here, when I'm relaxed. Never at home. Well, almost never. Right, Maud?
Corsica. The island has kept its charm. Fortunately, the Corsicans have their own mind.